Back to the Anarchy garage, and today is a really exciting day for me because I get to start building a steel body kit onto my E-Type. If you're not familiar with the E-Type Revenge build, this started out as a render which we found online. We spoke to the artist Yassi Design and he agreed that we could build it based on his drawings. After purchasing the E-Type, we then went and bought an F-Type Jaguar straight from Jaguar themselves. Now this car was only 18 months old and we donated all of the suspension, running gear, engine and gearbox into our E-Type. Since then we've also added West Forge wheels, Nankang tyres, and now the car is also on air suspension as well, which has been provided by Bagged Performance. It's big body kit time in the workshop then, and this is the bit I've been so excited about from the start. Although I think an E-Type is a very good looking car, I'm not completely in love with them. What I am in love with though is this amazing design concept that we're actually working towards. So how am I going to build my body kit? Firstly, I'm going to start mapping it out and I'm going to do it with this. And this is a 5mm stainless steel rod. Now this has got plenty of structure and you can see it actually holds its own weight all the way out. But also when you bend it, it stays there. It doesn't kind of spring back. So what I'll do is start to peg it out from the outer wheel arch here. So I'll linish all of this paintwork off, start to get some bends and some measurements and map it out over the top of these wheels. Both sides up then with the first bar. The great way about doing it with a bit of symmetry as well is, firstly, they're going to be identical, but also it's easier to make these bars in pairs. Once you've made one, you just match it up to it and you know that both sides are absolutely identical. So what I'm going to do now is I need a curve to build my wheel arch, and a simple way to do this is actually bending it around the tyre. So all I'm going to do is stick it underneath in one of the grooves, like that, and then actually bend it around to give myself the exact curve of the wheel arch that I'm going to be building.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe.
Right, so I've just turned up completely randomly and caught Slayer in the garage with the Revenge, and he's done a lovely job of actually starting to mock up the arches. So while he's been carrying on, I've just masked it all up and you can actually see the whole body line as it will be when it's on. And Jesus, it was a tedious job. Thanks for that, Slayer, leaving me through the horrible job, but I'm lost for words looking at it now. It's gonna look mean.
Here then is actually my stencil for the arch. So I've used 2 or 3 layers of masking tape, marked it out around the edge with a pen and then cut it off the car. So what I'll do now is actually transfer this onto steel, cut it out and start to bend it into shape. That's both sides actually cut out of the arches. So I've done both sides at the same time to make sure They're symmetrical and it's going to be a perfect fit side to side. So what I'm going to use here though is my mini English wheel. Now an English wheel not only gives a curve one direction, it gives it the other way, so it almost can create a dome with it. So when I'm creating these big shapes for the E-Type Revenge, this is the perfect tool for the job. So I'll start to run it through and match it up to my render. So a really exciting part of the E-Type build, my rear arches are actually on here. So they are tacked on in 2-inch intervals all the way around, and they do look phenomenal. Now I've just checked my measurements and I'm absolutely bang on side to side still, which means I've kept the heat down and made sure there's been no warping. So what I need to do is actually weld these on completely. Now this is a very time consuming job with this. The reason being is I can't just hammer a single bead weld all the way down. What I've got to do is do a couple of little welds, move to a further area away where it's still cool, put another couple of welds on and keep moving around the panels like that. The reason for that though is if I put too much heat in one area, things will start to warp and move. Even though this is a very strong structure, when you start injecting loads and loads of heat into it, metal will twist. So the art to this now is not getting too carried away in an area and keep on moving. So yeah, big time consuming job, but this is going to be well worth it with the finish. It's official then, the E-Type Revenge is now a wide body car, and I think you'll agree this thing is turning out incredible. And I think part of that is it truly does look like the render that I'm working from. So keeping it true to that is definitely the key with this car. Now bear in mind, this is now hiding 20-inch wheels on the back with a 295 tyre. So these things are absolutely massive. And looking down that silhouette now, it looks incredible. It looks like it was meant to be. So what I'll be doing now though is actually moving on to the front end. I've just had another delivery of stainless steel rod, so I can start to rod out the front end and get the front half of the body kit done as well. Right, first things first, I need to check whether these wheels will actually turn left and right. Now that may sound a very simple thing, but I've been so focused on getting this car to go up and down, I need to check the steering on it as well before I start building the body kit. So let's go forwards first. And that is actually clearing, which is mega. Now, when the suspension actually goes up more, it's probably going to touch. So I'm going to take probably a little line further just out of that to keep it steering correctly. Let's try the other way. Wow. Again, that is actually clearing, which is great news, especially when I know I've actually got 2 more inches cut out of this anyway to match the sill to the bonnet. So yeah, that is great news. Now, you may notice that on this there's actually no spacers, and I haven't ended up with this massive pivot on it either. So what these wheels are actually on is the F-type suspension. Now, I have mentioned this before, but these wheels are actually made to a 0 offset on the F-type suspension that I've used. So although this is kicked out massively on an E-type body, the suspension is all running straight and true, which means I haven't got these big wheels sticking out on the suspension. So I end up actually with a very tight turning curve on this, which is really cool. So yeah, what I'll do is start to cut a little bit more meat out of this front and the rear, and then try this again, but a little bit lower. All of the arches are now cut out on the front end of the E-Type. I can now turn my wheels all the way left and right without it touching any of the bodywork. Now the ride height for the car is going to be about 2 inches higher than this, but it still needs to look right when it's stanced and all the way down, but there's going to be no scraping when it's driving around. Now the next thing that I've been building is actually these. Now these are using the same stainless steel rod, but I've actually put them through my sheet metal bender, and that's actually given me a nice curve and a nice arch, and I've got 3 centimetre little bits all the way around here to give me the arch lip. So what I'll do is actually get this kind of tacked in place and then start rodding it back to the bodywork to give me the bodywork shape. Now what I'll do as well is actually copy this before I weld it onto the car to make sure it's centimetre or millimetre perfect side to side to make sure it looks symmetrical. The side arch then is now copied over onto the passengers. It was great because all of the little metal pieces actually gave me a map to work on, so all I've had to do is copy all of the angles and the shapes and just bring it over to the passenger side. It's actually within a millimetre of tolerance as well, which is absolutely incredible. So that will be lost in the final steel work and a little bit of primer and undercoat. Now the next stage is actually going to be to build the front splitter. Now, I would normally plate an arch like this the same as I did on the back, but because of the way the arches actually swoop down and go into the splitter, it's going to make way more sense to actually continue on this panel. So, some more rod work on the front, and let's make that amazing splitter a reality. So, it's time to start working on the front end, and before I can start doing my splitter and my front end modifications, I need to sort out this panel. Now I started working on it by actually removing the spotlight on this side because I needed that super smooth finish. But the more I delved into the panel, there's so much rust, corrosion and damage on it, it just wasn't viable to repair, or it was going to take so much time. So I went hunting and found this. Now, this is another front end. This again is a Series 2, and because it's been semi-restored, it is in amazing condition as a panel goes. Somebody spent some real time making this right. But this lower panel is all I'm going to be using. So I'm going to unbolt this and start to do my modifications by removing the spotlight straight away and then bolting it underneath. Agree then that lower valance has made such a massive difference to the front of the E-Type. So by removing those lower lights, again, it's another step closer to the render. So they'll take a very light skimmer filler over the top and they are pretty much good to go. I have still got a little bit of corrosion to do on the passenger side wing that's going to need dealing with, but for now it will do to start mocking up the body kit. So yeah, I'm going to drop it down to the floor and start getting some more rods on.
I've been dreaming on in my head like I've seen it. A life worth living is a life with meaning. I'll do what I love till my heart stops beating. I'm feeding this demon. Got a taste, can't erase bitterness in my face.
The front main rod of the splitter is now mocked up on the front of the Jag. Now, something like this takes a good couple of hours to bust out. Although there's not a lot of physical work there is a lot of standing back, looking for symmetry and making sure aesthetically this thing looks perfect. Now that front rod is actually in place, I'm going to be moving on to the next rod, which is from the wheel arches underneath the back of the valance and actually joins the two together. Now, this is one of my favourite parts of this design, but it's also one of the most complex to get right, because how these front wheel arches move round, you've got the wheel arch shape, and when it reaches the headlights, they actually roll in on themselves and create the front part of the splitter as well. It is a beautiful part, but a lot of lines to get right. So what I'm going to do next is actually get this up in the air and start marking out the lower valance and hopefully getting these rods joined together. The front end of the E-Type then is all mocked up with the splitter in place, and actually seeing it all working together with the arches is honestly mind-blowing how close it is looking to the render. So I'm proper pleased with this working forwards. So the next plan is quite simply just to blow it all off with an airline, just get rid of all of the dust, and then I'm going to be masking taping up one side to start making my templates. So I'm just in awe with this car at the moment. It looks incredible, and the way all of the shapes and the lines are coming together, honestly, I am lost for words. I've had to go and have 10 minutes, sat down and just staring at this thing. It looks incredible, and the way it's coming together is honestly mind-blowing at the moment. Now, when you think about the process as well, we've got these beautiful West Forge wheels under here, and when we ordered these and measured them, we knew these were going to stick out from the original body line in a massive way. And now to actually see them tucked on the front of this, it means they have got it absolutely bang on right. All of the arches look in proportion, the way the splitter is curving round underneath, it is truly beautiful, and I think this is actually making all of those lines from the E-Type even more exaggerated and even prettier as well. So the next thing though I'm going to be doing, I'm going to get a big black marker and actually mark along these lines and start to cut my panels and my templates out of the masking tape and transfer them into steel. Once I've got a pair of them, I've got one for the driver's side, one from the passengers, and then I'll keep working my way around the car and adding strength in by putting the panels in.
At 29 and I find myself wondering what did happen to the last 10. I ran away with my life, fast forward, never turn back again. It's kind of funny that the more we pass time, the more we need to set the rewind. And 19 was the year I had to leave you, but now I'm seeing all the signs. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you. Is this really happening? I can't be too sure, but one day I'll be yours again. Life lessons come one in a dozen. The other 11 get something from nothing. I sit here looking for an answer. Maybe the biggest question was in the last chapter. You gave me the soul I have today. Without you I never could have moved away. But now I see what you teach. I do believe I always should have stayed. Yeah. Is this really happening? I can't believe it's true. I'm just as surprised as you.
Today has been one of those days then when I've just been able to actually crack on with the job and really enjoy getting the front of this car tied together. Because I had all of the panels already made on the driver's side, ready to go on there, it's literally been a quick tidy up job and tack everything in place. So it's been really rewarding actually seeing this car take shape on both sides really quickly today. So the next job will actually be weld everything up, actually seam welding it all together, and then going over it all with the linisher before moving on to the front end.
Never really know what's going on. Look at me sometimes like all you want to do.
My front arches then are now done, and I am just so blown away by the fact that I'm at this stage with this car. Now obviously these are all steel, so these are properly load bearing, which I think adds to that E-type vibe as well. Rather than putting on some fiberglass or plastic arches, these are properly on the car. Now what I've done is actually seam welded along all of the joins and then tidied it up just using a 4-inch flappy disc to try and blend the two panels together. These will still require some filler work on them just to get them absolutely bang on, but all of the shape and strength is exactly where I need it in the panel. Now, rather than putting my wheels on, airing the car out and just ogling at it for the next hour, I'm going to bang the car back up to head height, and I'm going to start to masking tape up the front splitter so I can actually start to put some panels in there as well. E-Type Revenge is outside them for the very first time since becoming a true wide body car, and actually being able to stand back from this for the very first time and truly have a look. It looks just like the render, which is what I was aiming for all along, because that is the design that I fell in love with. Now a lot of that has come from the foundations that went into this, such as the reinforced chassis, the F-Type engine and running gear, but also working with our partners such as Bag Performance, providing all of the air suspension to get this car down low. And the car obviously sat on West Forge wheels, which were custom made for the build, and then wrapped in Nankang tyres. So a massive thank you to all the companies we're working with on this build and giving us the trust to get this car to this stage. Now, that will be it for this episode, because the front splitter, the section that's missing, I need to work out if I'm going to be building it in steel, carbon fibre or fiberglass, because the next section actually kind of slots on the front of it as well. So I need to work out what material is going to be best for that as well. So thank you so much for watching this episode of the Anarchy Garage. See you next time.